Hey everybody, so this is my playthrough of the Autopsy Simulator demo that is available on Steam. I think it literally just came out this week or maybe last week. Basically, I'll just read the description of it, which on Steam it says Autopsy Simulator is a story-driven mystery with simulation elements. Step into an eerie dissection room to perform realistic corpse examinations, which will lead you to solving disturbing cases, facing horrors both supernatural and those of your past. Now, if you have watched the trailer or seen any of the clips on Steam, my knee-jerk reaction was to say that this would be a like a mortuary assistant kind of vibe. I won't say anything like a ripoff, but it seems similar. And while there are similarities, it is a different game. So please don't go in this with the bias that I did, because I played the demo. I recorded this after, obviously, and what I played of it, I really enjoyed it. So give it a shot. It's a great game. It's really well done. I love the developers for how they left it, but I also hate them for how they left it, because, not to spoil anything, but the game was just getting going and then wishlisted on Steam. So I don't know when it's supposed to come out, but it looks incredible. It's very well done. The gameplay is fun. It's very immersive. It's really kind of interesting how everything works as far as how you do certain analysis within the game. You'll understand as you play it. But anyway, without further ado, let me get back to me from a couple of hours ago when I first recorded this, and check the game out. I hope you enjoy it. Please like, subscribe, drop a comment. Also, check out my socials below, along with my Twitch channel. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the playthrough.
I would like to ask him to wear our
No, do not call me anymore. It's none of my business.
Very angry conversation on the phone. Okay.
How am I supposed to record a lecture for the students now? Feeling completely broken. I'm gonna go nuts if I don't take my pills. Fuck. Where are my meds?
Here are our meds. Looks like a bottle of Tylenol, not gonna lie. Alright. No reflection. I'll tell you, the colors of everything, the graphics, as far as like the way everything looks, it's really nice. The interactivity of it is great.
Alright. Now we can go get the camera. This place is starting to look like a garbage dump rather than a storage room.
Ghostbusters, copy number 7. An old camcorder, like a really old camcorder. The school can't afford a new camcorder? Oh.
Well, I hope I won't forget to press the record button this time.
Don't you forget to press the record button. I've done that before.
Let's move on straight to our deceased.
Yes, let's do that.
I'm wondering how the new tripod is going to work.
I mean, it's a tripod. As long as it can hold the weight of the camera, you're in good shape. That looks like a pretty stable... Wait, that's not a tripod. That's a quad pod. Fair enough. Fine.
Just frame it properly and... Oh, this should be fine.
Frame that guy up there. Right.
November 21st, 1991.
Oh,
Time,
it's
8:43 p.m.
31
Recording
years
for medical students from the University of Missouri. The autopsy is conducted by Jack Hanman. Ladies and gentlemen, it is always worth having a look at the files before conducting the autopsy. That is where we can find all kinds of clues to what could have potentially happened to the deceased.
What a voice on this guy, too.
Well, who do we have here today? found on the outskirts of a parking lot near a gas station, where he often begged and insistently offered to clean the windows of cars that were leaving the station. The body was found in a dry field drain. A frequent cause of traumatic deaths among the elderly is the various types of accidents, including traffic accidents or falling down the stairs. The body was spotted by a station worker during the morning shift. At first, he thought that someone had thrown rain boots and a coat in a nearby ditch. It took him a moment to recognize a human body laying on its back. Signs of libation could be found around the dead body. Empty bottles, traces of an inept attempt to start a fire, and a scattered makeshift blanket.
Pretty sad. Alright, so we have a homeless guy discovered by some poor gas station attendant.
The deceased is locally known as Old Toby, homeless and unemployed for at least a couple years. He had gotten into fights and had been bullied by the problematic youth of the town. He was that type of a man who never kept off alcohol, which caused him to be homeless. As a young man working in a suburban coal mine most of his life, he already abused alcohol, and as the time went by, he'd fall into addiction more. That's interesting. Although alcohol poisoning as a sole cause of death among the elderly people is relatively rare, different levels of alcohol poisoning happen among 1 in 4 deaths of elderly people, which may suggest that alcohol abuse is a significant issue in this age group. What is important to note, even though alcohol poisoning does not cause death, it does increase the risk of accidents and their following injuries.
You know, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. So as he's reading that, I'm thinking to myself, why is he doing all this like long-form exposition? And then it dawns on me, he had just said he's recording this for his class. I pay attention to details.
The body was found at 7 o'clock by Sheriff Matthew Thompson. White male, 76 kilograms, 5'8", age unknown. The deceased is a local homeless man named Toby Chambers. His son runs a hardware store. His wife ran away years ago. Local police have talked to residents, so we know more about the deceased. For example, that he loved drinking, and by no means was abstinent. Such clues can direct us to things that are worth keeping in mind during the autopsy.
I'll be honest, this guy's voice, I can listen to it all day. Alright.
Mention the rookie mistakes. Oh yeah, that's right. That's my order to sensify you for a few issues. First, due to the fact that in the process of revealing and securing forensic traces, interference that changes the primary condition happens. The photographic documentation plays a huge role in the entire process of examination. Then, the body needs to be placed on its back on the autopsy table. The pathomorphologist stands on the left-hand side of the body. Third, very rarely but still, the cause of death remains unknown if all the tests come out negative. That's the so-called white autopsy. Now remember that it can also happen.
Okay. Alright, that's all done.
Found on the outskirts of the deceased is the body was mentioned found on the outskirts of
okay.
Parking lot near a gas station, where he often begged and insistently offered to clean the windows of cars.
There we go. Find and put the
Where are the damn gloves? Now we can get to work. We're going to need the camera. It should be here somewhere.
The camera? Is it the one I was just using? Or no, just like a photo camera or something?
Must have left it in one of the drawers.
Drawers? What drawers? I don't see any drawers. Aha! An old Polaroid. Look at that.
Let's follow the procedure and prepare photo documentation. We must follow the top-down rule. Luckily, we don't have to take pictures of the clothes this time. We are only focusing on the body. Let's keep in mind it's all about the legibility, not the perfect frame. Before we start searching for traces on the deceased's body, we have to take a main picture that goes in the files.
Take a top-down photo of the deceased.
Voila! Now we move on to the next step. Trace search.
Find spots on the body to photograph. Okay, so how do I get out?
We're going to need better zoom here. We're going to need better zoom here. And that's perfect.
Okay. Just up close shots of the body. Got it. Oh, okay. It lights up like a... Aha.
People affected by homelessness most often die from accidents, alcohol abuse, or they freeze to death. Unfortunately, both suicide and homicide are also quite common. Well, you don't have to stand close to be able to smell a strong odor of alcohol and other discharges. There's nothing left to say. Old Toby didn't spare himself. While taking the photos, some
Really
entries
well,
that could
Toby.
be potentially lethal caught my attention. Let's take a closer look using the magnifying glass.
Investigate the potential death causes. Take the magnifier from the tool wheel. Tap. Okay.
An old wound that hadn't healed properly. It must have been some kind of burn or other injury. Nevertheless, it has nothing to do with the potential cause of death.
Okay. Oh, they light up. Okay.
There are frostbite marks all over the deceased's body. Although they are most visible on the tips of his fingers, they can be recognized by the very specific color of the skin. However, the hands tell us much more. By the look of his feet, I assume Toby must have worn uncomfortable and dinky shoes for quite a while. However, such wounds have nothing to do with his death. That's something interesting. While making photographic documentation, ecchymosis can be seen on the deceased man's head. The appearance indicates the intravital nature of the wound. We'll come back later to see if everything is alright with the brain. What do we have here?
Possible causes. Longitudinal scar. Possible causes burn. Bloody hematomas. Further examination of the brain needed. Scratches and other minor damage to epidermis on the feet. Visible frostbite. Visible frostbite on the hands. Possible organ congestion. Odor. Intense smell of emanating from the deceased. Well, I mean, yeah. Examine the marked spots.
An old wound that hadn't healed properly. It must have been some kind of burn or other injury. Now, the condition of the head tells us it could have been a fatal accident. By the look of his feet, I assume Toby must have worn uncomfortable and dinky shoes. It could be freezing to death. Yeah, the odor can be the result of alcohol intoxication.
Okay. So now what?
At this point, that's all I can do based on all traces on the body of the deceased. The inside should tell me much more. Let's move back to the body. Now let's check the level of muscle tension. This will allow us to establish time of death. Let's raise the deceased's hand.
I have to perform the examination.
And then let go. The stronger the rigor mortis gets, the greater the resistance from the muscles will be. As you can see, the hand falls loose. The rigor mortis has already subsided. We can then assume that the time of death stated in the files is correct.
Okay.
Let's grab a scalpel.
Oh.
You can boldly cut with the scalpel. It won't hurt him no more. We always start with the neck and move down towards the symphysis pubis. The incision should be deep. Next, we separate the skin and prepare to remove the ribs.
The hand tool. Oh.
The adipose tissue has an intense yellow hue. As you probably already guessed, we're going to need the scissors.
I don't see scissors. Oh, loppers. Oh, okay.
After removing both cartilage and bone tissues, We are actually interested in two things that you can see at the very first glance. The lack of organ congestion means that, although the deceased was cold, hypothermia wasn't the cause of death. We can eliminate freezing as the cause of death.
Okay.
The deceased smoked like a chimney. Let's take a closer look. We see widespread black and tarry deposits caused by smoking cigarettes. Despite the tragic condition of the lungs, they are not the cause of death.
Alright. So... Oh. The dissection of the organism in this case was not required. Got it. Take the syringe.
Now we need to go grab the syringe. At this point, we need to test the level of blood alcohol concentration of the deceased. We also collect the fluid from the deceased to determine the level of alcohol concentration in the vitreous humor. We move on to collecting blood from the heart. 5 milliliters from the left ventricle should do it. Now, we prick the bladder and draw about 10 milliliters of fluid. Keep in mind that you have to set the right time and speed on both knobs before running the centrifuge. Our samples may break into pieces due to the centrifugal force if we set up the wrong coordinates. I myself am terrible with numbers because I suffer from dyscalculia, which is why I always keep the appropriate coordinates at hand.
Okay. Take the note from the pin board. Mixer values, time 40 minutes, speed 75%. Okay. No. Go back. Oh. Okay. Okay.
Damn it. If something goes to shit, it's all the way. That's probably the blown fuses again. Hold up. I must have had a flashlight somewhere.
What is all this shit?
And I was hoping to clock out early today. What was that?
Cat?
Where did it go? Yeah, it's definitely the fuses. Right goes first, left next. Voila!
Turn off.
Where's that unbearable noise coming from? Alright, where were we? Oh yeah, the blood alcohol concentration. Well, everything is telling us that the BAC, blood alcohol concentration, is high, hence the smell we're getting from the deceased. Still, to be 100% sure, I have to send the samples to the lab. Unfortunately, I don't have the equipment to conduct a detailed analysis here.
Okay.
Now let's take a closer look at the stomach.
All right.
As expected, the stomach has no major external damage. In this case, further inspection is no use. We must cut him open.
Oh, it's okay. The little track. Interesting. Oop. Oh no, I messed up. Darn it. Okay, move closer and examine the secretion.
That's interesting. In addition to a large amount of gas and liquid, the stomach also contains small amounts of yellow grayish food content resembling some kind of meat. Either our deceased hadn't eaten in days, or some of the bulk of his stomach had found a way out. No, it couldn't have been suffocation, could it? Now we need to focus on the cardiovascular system, especially the heart. We take the organ and look it up and down, carefully.
Okay.
At first glance, the heart looks fine. The pulmonary trunk and aorta seem to be in good condition. There are no pathological changes that have contributed to our Toby's death. Well, once we've got the body ticked off, we can move on to the head.
Alright. So now what? Take the saw.
Let's take the autopsy saw to cut through the skull to cleave it in two. Remember, the skull, not the saw. Anyway, we will start dissecting the brain from the occipital lobe. In this way, the brain's dura mater is slowly revealing itself.
Interesting. I like the gameplay so far. Okay.
After the basic examination, we can see that the cerebral gyri in both brain hemispheres are symmetric and the bumps between them are clear.
Okay. So our brain is good then? Oh, there we go.
So far, so good. The hematoma seems to have had no effect on the organ we're examining. Let's, holding a knife with a long, narrow blade in your dominant hand, cut the cranial nerves on both sides, pulling the brain towards you.
Oh no. Alright. Oh, I gotta go all the way back.
Remember, just one small fragment examined under the magnifying glass is enough to dispel or confirm our doubts. We then take the fragment of the brain to the tray and, literally and figuratively, go over it with a fine-tooth comb. Just as I initially suspected, we can rule the fatal accident out as well.
Okay, good to know. Take out the trachea and examine it. No, not the lung. There we go. No clear external pathological changes. Organ condition cross-section required.
Same as we did with the stomach. While cutting a small organ, such as the trachea, we must perform a precise incision. To be able to cut with the very tip of the blade, we must hold the knife as if it was a stylus.
Okay, I don't have a stylus.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've got it.
Go to the general card.
Based on the report and preliminary documentation, it is safe to assume that the deceased passed out after consumption of alcohol and then fell asleep on his back. Then the gastric contents refluxed and flooded the airways, causing death. That's why we don't forget about the recovery position at dorm parties.
Poor old guy.
And now it's all clear. The death was caused by suffocation.
Poor old Toby. Where's the general card? General card? Oh.
It went quite smoothly today. I'm about to get off.
Cool. Close the chest. Alright. Squish. Squish.
In order to bring the chest of our deceased back to its initial state, at least to us, we sewed the deceased using the baseball stitch technique. This stitching method is very strong and quick to do.
Oh. No.
I should probably get to that.
It's in my office.
I'm coming. This is Dr. Jack Hanman. Please leave a message.
Good evening. How are you? How are you? How are you?
What the f is that supposed to be? I'll finish the stitching and I'm getting the fuck out of here. What the fuck?
Oh, damn it. Okay. Thank you for playing Autopsy Simulator demo. We want to know what you think. Be sure to tell us by visiting the game's Steam page and leaving a post on the discussion board. Also, be sure to click the button and add to your Steam wishlist. What have you done? Well, I'll be honest. It was pretty tense. I wouldn't say it was scary other than like the 2 jump scares right there and the one before, but clearly there's a hell of a lot more in store in this game. I love the detail and the participation. It's almost too much, but it's pretty cool. So whenever this comes out, I will definitely check it out. But in the meantime, I look forward to seeing what else they have to share with us. Hopefully there'll be a more expanded demo or the game will release soon. But anyway, thank you for watching. So remember, like, subscribe, and then check the description below for my Twitch channel and all of my socials. They'll be in there. But thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.